Hi.
Yeah.
It's you.
Shocking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Second time in Stanford, I knew if I raised my hand, you'd call me, but I wasn't ready. And I knew that today you would call me, so I raised my hand.
Yeah. Yeah. The key word, I knew. I knew. That's why we don't just call on anybody when you know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to not take too much time, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm between love, finance, and my deep desired dreams / professional. But I think I'm going to choose professional because this week was intense, and I want to know, I want any clarity on whether or not I know who I am and what I have manifested. I'm tapped in. When I'm tapped in and turned on, all of that, I make powerful things happen, and I'm grateful for that.
When things happen like what you're talking about, it does a wonderful thing for you. It really sharpens desire. Mm-hmm. But it's tricky because it sharpens your desire and it also sharpens your awareness of where you are. It makes it really intense, and that's why it feels so strong, you see. The good news is your desire has come into much stronger clarity. Well, your inner being knows mostly what you want, but you know, your inner being, you get the concept of the vortex where your desires are, and you get the concept of your inner being focusing there. So can you imagine or accept that you might live something that might make you put another piece into that wasn't there before? It might be a timing piece. It might be a value piece, like bigger. What you're living is never of not value. Even if it feels like it's not going the way you wanted it to go, it is always of value because every subject is like a stick with two ends on it. So when it doesn't go your way, it really went your way. And your inner being got a stronger bead on more specifics now than has ever been there before. And so it is more certain that what's coming is going to please you big time than it was before that. So doesn't that soften your discomfort about anything?
Oh yes, I've been leaning into refinement and allowing myself to create from whatever contrast comes my way.
Yeah, contrast's good. That's something that humans usually aren't willing to say. Contrast is good. It provides clarity and it strengthens asking.
My discernment.
But the key to allowing contrast to be good is not stubbornly trying to affirm, isn't the right word, to justify or defend what happened. So talk to us.
Well, interesting you said that things happen, and so for me, I was existing in this way, being in this way, and my personal happening was health, and it brought upon a huge crisis, like a crisis in confidence, and things just like wobbly, not as able to align, and long story short, yesterday, after a year and a half about, my two bosses sat me down to discuss my exit. And that's where I felt like I needed to talk to you to find, I want to know if they asked me to stay extra for a good transition to help them to not affect the culture, to not affect blah, 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 and that I can control the narrative, but I'm not sure that's in service of me.
Well, we think it is for this reason, because what they're calling an exit is your new entrance somewhere. And since the new entrance isn't obvious to you yet, then letting this exit be, smoothing both ends of that out, it helps this and it helps this. Not because this needs to be helped, because this is already lined up, but it doesn't feel lined up to you. Now, you got the sense of all of that, didn't you? The man in the chair just now said everything is always working out for me, and you just said, well, it might be good for them, but I don't know if it's so good for me. We like to explain things are always working out for me in this way. This is the way Esther writes it every day. Things are always working out for me and everyone else too. Because there's no competition. It's not a pie that you're slicing up, and if somebody else is getting a bigger slice, I'm getting a smaller slice. It's not like that. Things are always working out for all of us. You're not ready for it yet. Maybe you are, but as this unfolds a little bit, you're going to realize that there are better things for you. that this, what has been, is already become sort of limiting, and you've been feeling some of that, and that's all part of some of the angst that you've been feeling. And so it's working to your advantage in a big way. This is not you winding down into less than, this is you winding up into more than.
To give you just some context of where I'm coming from, is I've always been a pleaser my whole life, and that's one thing I've wanted to shift, and that I've been working on and doing my personal work on that, in being intentional on my actions and not allowing that need to like please everyone. So that's why I want to make sure that it's not coming from the pleaser.
We're going to throw something back at you, and you tell us how that fits in with what you just said.
Sure.
If I know, we're standing in your human shoes, if I know that things are always working out for me, and I also know that things are also working out for everyone else, am I a pleaser?
Ooh.
I'm pleased when you thrive. I'm pleased when things are good for you. I'm pleased when things are good for me. Am I a pleaser? Well, maybe I'm just pleased. Maybe I'm tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Maybe I realize that there's enough resources for everybody. Maybe I'm no longer competing over resources.
Well, that I do believe.
We know that about you too. But in the context of being a pleaser, as you hear it come from us, this is the context. We know who you were before you came into this physical body and who you've become vibrationally ever since. And it is our desire that you calibrate to that part of you, not to the peanut gallery out here. Most people are calibrating to the others that they can see and hear and smell and taste and touch. You watch their body language. There are a lot of people that just throw a little fit, and so it changes the way you behave. So being an effective pleaser who is of value to them, you don't cater to their whining. You praise their successes. You be like their inner being. You give full attention to what feels good, and you give no attention to what feels bad. And so the only way that we mean that being a pleaser is detrimental to you and to them is if you're trying to be the law of attraction and make up for what they're not able to do through your action. Don't soothe whiners. Don't soothe whiners by fixing things for them, because all it does is make them think that whining works. And whining does work to a certain degree, but it doesn't work magnificently. It doesn't give you creative genius. It doesn't make you one of the best in terms of the way you thrive and feel, you see. And so the help thing is about you taking on too much responsibility for too many people that you don't have any power for. You care about their well-being, but it's like pushing a noodle. You can't make someone allow. You watch us and all the antics that we go through. We can't know it enough to make someone know it who is stubbornly not knowing it right now. We just keep saying it over and over and over and over and over and over again until you're ready. You don't let it in. And so you can't make people succeed or be happy who are in an ornery mood. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Esther heard a comedian that she really likes. We're not doing an advertisement for anything, but she heard Jerry Seinfeld say about this new Netflix thing that is being released called Pop-Tart. Esther hasn't seen it. She's going to see it as soon as she can get rid of all of you. But she heard him say, when they asked him, how did he make something so wonderful happen? He says, we just get people in a good mood and then it happens. We just try to get people in a good mood and then it happens. We just try to get people in a good mood and then it happens. Well, is that a pleaser? Kind of, sort of is. But you can't get people in a good mood if you're not in a good mood. So if your bag of marbles is in a good mood, then you're going to encourage other people to tune in and they're going to be in a good mood. And then wonderful things do happen collectively as you're all working together. But if you're in a bad mood because you're worried about this or that or this or that, you're trying to protect people from this or that or this or that, that takes a toll on outcomes. We don't think your moving in your work is a disadvantage in any way, shape, or form. It's something that your vortex has been calling you toward for a long time. I'm going to make a strong statement that you're going to hear really well. We're going to tell you a story. There was a woman who came to a workshop who lived in a place that she described as miserable. But for whatever reason, she kept staying there and she kept staying there. She just kept putting up with all the things about it that she didn't like. Then they passed a new rule that her cat could not live there. So she's sneaking the cat around for quite a while because she's defiant of this. But then she decided to move. And we said, so you'll move for your cat? Because the cat didn't like being carried around in a paper sack, sneaking in and out. So she moved for the cat, but she wouldn't move for herself. And that's kind of, you'll move because somebody else has decided that it's not a match, but it hasn't been a match for you for a long time.
Mm-mm.
And because you're a pleaser, and because you keep your commitments, and because you're good at what you do, you put up with stuff you didn't like in order to help them, and that's why you're so mad. You've been putting up with stuff for them, and now they've got the nerve to say, no? This could have happened 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago. Yeah.
My best friend is sitting there, and you're completely validating her. I can feel her eyes and energy over there.
Good?
Amazing, thank you.
Really good, really good, really good.
I've been following you for a while, and I definitely know how to build the momentum up.
Yeah?
But I'm noticing a theme, and it's not just in one area. It's in relationships, money, and even getting to the gym.
That's good. That's point of attraction stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll have this massive momentum, like nothing can stop me. And it'll be Monday through Thursday, right? And then Friday comes, and then it's like the rug gets swept underneath me, and it all gets taken. And I'm curious why.
It's logical that when you're going really fast, that when for a moment you're not, that you would notice the difference. But don't be dramatic. Don't call the rug pulled out from under you or anything like that.
It kind of is that, though, because, for example, I do investing, so I'll make $13,000 throughout the week, Monday to Thursday, but then I'll lose $14,000 Friday.
Don't go to work on Friday.
I said that to myself after the fact, of course.
We're going to tell you a couple of stories, and you'll see how they fit. One day, a man was talking about, he'd made a lot of money. He was later in life, in his 60s or early 70s, and he'd made a fortune and lost it, not just on Friday. It was a big deal to him. And his complaint, concern, trauma was he thought that it had taken him a long time to amass it, and he didn't think he had time to do that again. And same seminar, another woman got in the hot seat, an artist who had been doing her art for over a decade, was moving from New York to California to work in Hollywood, and on the way, someone broke into her car and stole everything, including her portfolio, so she had nothing to demonstrate when she got there. And we said to both of them, it doesn't matter what has physically seemed to have diminished or gone. What matters is the vortex, which never diminishes. There's no regression. And so if you have had the benefit of all of that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday win, you've got momentum going that's going to carry you long past Friday, Saturday. In other words, the momentum will carry you. And the key, this is exactly what Esther was shocked at herself about when she heard us say, point that way and just don't point in opposition. Well, it's easy to point Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, win, 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 win. But on Friday, facing reality causes you to point the other way, and it's what you're doing to your vortex that matters, not anything that is physically manifested. If you can hear that and really know that, then you'll keep pointing that way no matter what. You'll soften it by saying things like, well, that's just kind of how it goes, and that's how I make decisions about what I want. This is a learning experience, and my momentum is much more in my favor than not. It clearly is, you see. Don't take score on the short term. Esther's friend said to her the other day, he has a new physical fitness trainer, and his trainer said, we're playing the long game. And Esther said, ooh, I like those words. I bet Abraham will use them. It's the long game. It's the vortex game. It's the energy game. It's not what's bursting onto the scene in any moment in time.